My name is Nicole Madiation. I'm the Executive Director of On-Screen Manitoba.
My name is Yenny Trin, and I'm the President of the Asian Heritage Society of Manitoba.
Hey, I'm John, and this is James, and we're from Red Rover Entertainment.
I'm Rachel Rusin. On behalf of all of us at Manitoba Film and Music, I want to take this opportunity and offer my congratulations to the FascinAsian Film Festival in its inaugural year.
Hi everyone, I'm Deanna Wong, Executive Director of the Toronto Real Asian International Film Festival. Congratulations on your inaugural FascinAsian Film Festival.
I'm Susan Hansen, Festival Director of the Vancouver Asian Film Festival. On behalf of the Vancouver Asian Film Festival, I wanted to express our heartfelt congratulations on the launch of FascinAsian Film Festival.
Hi, I'm Chris Fajner from the National Screen Institute. We are so proud and excited to be a part of the very first FascinAsian Film Festival. Congratulations to the whole team.
On behalf of the whole team here at On-Screen Manitoba, congratulations to FascinAsian on your first year.
We're so excited to be a part of the festival as a sponsor, and a big congratulations to all of the members of the team who are putting the show together.
Our society is very proud to be a partner and sponsor of the festival, so congratulations.
Hi, welcome to the first annual FascinAsian Film Festival. My name is Jessica Gibson, and I'm a Manager of Programs and Development at the National Screen Institute, and I will be moderating this panel today. The FascinAsian Film Festival acknowledges that we live and work on the territories of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Dakota, Dene, and Oji-Cree nations, and the heartland of the Métis people. Treaty 1, signed in 1871, took this territory from 7 local Anishinaabe First Nations to make the land available for settler use and ownership. We thank the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities that have cared for Turtle Island since the beginning. With this acknowledgement, we remind ourselves of discriminatory, racist, and colonial practices that have and continue to create barriers for Indigenous peoples and communities across Turtle Island. We are pleased to be celebrating Asian Heritage this month by sharing the stories of Asian Canadians here in Manitoba and across the country, but especially proud today to be talking to some local emerging talent who have found success with their short films. Now, people may think that short films are a stepping stone to other things like episodic content or full-length films, and yes, they can be, but short films are also a category in themselves. And the landscape can be overcrowded with so many filmmakers making short films these days. How does a short film cut through the massive amount of content out there and become recognized? That's exactly what we're going to find out today from our panel of wonderful Asian Canadian filmmakers. So with us today, we have Jim Agapito. Jim is an award-winning Filipino filmmaker that has been creating films for over 15 years. His latest film, Bakla, focuses on Ali Gonzalo, a photographer who explores Filipino Bakla culture and was commissioned by CBC Arts and CBC Manitoba as a part of CBC's Creator Network. We have Ian Bawa. Ian is a graduate of the University of Winnipeg Film Program. He started out interning with Film Training Manitoba in the lighting department, and then working in every department since then. He's produced, directed, and worked on many genres of films. His latest film, Strong Son, premiered at the 2020 Toronto International Film Festival and Vancouver International Film Festival, and will premiere later this year at the 2021 Aspen Short Fest. We have Joanne Roberts. Joanne is an award-winning Canadian filmmaker, writer, and actress. She's best known for her short film series, I Am, with CBC Creator Network. She also pitched the story of Anak and was the winner of the 2020 RBC $10,000 pitch competition, and it will premiere this summer at the Gimli Film Festival. And we have Vincent Tang. Vincent is an independent filmmaker who finished post-secondary education at the University of Manitoba, earning a bachelor's degree in environmental design and a master's degree in landscape architecture. He's also a cinematographer, and his first short, Chainmail, was a finalist in the 2018 CBC short film Face Off television show. And he's also a cinematographer on the short film Caring for Lola that is a part of the short film program this year. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
I know some of you, I'm just meeting some of you, but I'm super excited to talk to everyone today. Yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. The goal of this chat is just to talk about how to be successful with a short film. And I guess I want to start off with defining what that is. What is success with a short film? So, you know, if we can just chat about what that means to you, and maybe if that is different things for different projects. Jim? I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I think it depends how you measure success, right? Like I make a lot of documentary films, and my big thing is, does it have an impact on the community afterwards? What's the personal journey that I've gone through with it? Have I changed and learned something through? And that's how I define success, I guess, is that did the people in the film learn something? Did other people learn something? And did I learn something? And because of that, change my outward look on life. And that's what I define success as, for sure.
Awesome. How about you, Ian?
I think generally it's usually who gets to see it, where it kind of ends up. Like, I'm always wondering, like, what's the audience like? Where is it going to just be seen at the end of it? Because, like, in my headspace, like, what's the point of making something if it's not going to be seen? Like, what's the way? It's a movie, film, art is just about being shared. So in my headspace, every film should be like a progression. So, like, you know, maybe you start out in making like a film that plays a small, you know, student film festival, and then it moves to the next film you make, does another one. And I feel like as you, like, a good sign of you getting better or anything of success, it's just like that audience growing and growing and growing and maybe getting to a bigger stage. And that's how I've always seen it. Money has never been a successful factor for me. I wish I liked money more, but it's, I think, size of audience and reach.
Yeah. Joanne, I know you also, I Am as a documentary. You have other projects that you've done. How do you measure success of your projects? And does that vary from one to the next?
It does and it doesn't. So like my independent film works, it's how successful is the festival run, for sure. But I think in general, I have 3 different criteria as to if something is successful. The first one is, can I pay rent that month? Always a good thing. The second is, through this process of this project, did I grow creatively? Did I push boundaries? And then the third, which is I think the most important to me, is who did I reach in terms of seeing my film? If there's somebody that sends me a message out of the blue, who, like a complete stranger I don't know, if someone tells me they've heard somebody talking about my film on the street, I think that's the definition of success for me.
Awesome. And Vincent, I know that you are you're a director, you're a creator, you're a cinematographer. So you have played different roles in different projects. So how do you measure success when you're leading a project and when you're a part of the team?
Started, I thought, you know, success was going to film festivals and getting recognized and doing all this and stuff like that. But I think over time, as I was making films, like, I kind of just centralized, I guess, my view of success and was, at the end of the day, if I'm happy with the product and I'm proud of the film and people see it and what Jim and Ian and Joanne had all mentioned, I agree with absolutely. And just, if you're proud of it personally, I think it's a success.
Awesome. Ian, I know that you've screened at various film festivals. Is there a dream festival that you'd like to screen at that you haven't yet, or one that you just have had a great experience with?
Yeah, of course. Well, like I said, what's the point of like making something that's not going to be seen if I'm not challenging myself to be like, get to the next stage? So I'm constantly like, and that's the thing I think people forget about the festival game. It's not about just submitting. There's a hustle behind it that I love. I want to say effing love. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. So I love that's super fun. That's like, and some people can handle it, some people can't. And that's a whole other conversation, but essentially, like, and I've kind of figured that out in a sense, or I like doing it enough that I've got to some good festivals as in the last few years. My favorite festival, and I hands down recommend everyone trying to get in, looking it up, just going to it, is Fantastic Fest in Austin. I go to it every year, even when I don't have a film in. Good people, you meet celebs. Like, I've hung out with like Elijah Wood and a bunch of other celebrities, just like hanging out and just having drinks. And we
name drop them all.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I was like, should I? So that's like my favorite one. I'd recommend everyone should check out. Do festival for me that I want to get into, that I was kind of in the running. I found out later that I just missed it by hair, was Sundance, and still on my list. And, you know, like, but what is getting in the end? I'm kind of like always like, you know, what will I'll get into Sundance, and then what? And that's happened too, where I'm like, okay, what do I do with this now? And that's the thing. Once you get in, you got to figure out what to do with that. So that is a goal of mine still. It's just a personal goal ever since I was like a kid, because Sundance sounds cool and Robert Redford sounds cool. So runs it. So yeah, that's my answer.
And when you're there, like what does being there mean to your project, and what does it mean to your next projects?
I see it again. I don't think being there is essentially, like, I guess being there in the hypothetical sense of like getting in, because I was going to say COVID and stuff, being situated there is something else. Getting into a festival like that, it's how you leverage it. And I think that's the thing. Like, how do you play that card once you're in it? Like, you gotta, as soon as you're in, you gotta plan the next 6 steps. And, you know, for me, like this year, especially, I got into TIFF with my short. And as soon as I got that letter, because I know a month ahead before everyone else, I get to announce it. I was already hustling with distributors. I was already hustling with grants. I was already hustling, talking to producers. I was already reaching out because I was like, oh, yeah, you got to take like the opportunities to just connect right away, because you have the calling card. All of a sudden, you have something in your pocket that people want, and they're going to reach out as soon as they announce that you got in the festival. You got to take the steps to do it ahead of time. That's what getting on that platform that's like a good festival or something else can do to you. So it's just a matter of you like doing it and learning to do it and understanding it.
Yeah. I know, Vincent, you got into the CBC short film Face Off, and so it's not a festival, but it's another big platform. How did you use that to kind of leverage your next projects and get your name out there?
Well, I think like when I made that film, it was just me and my girlfriend and one actress. It was just we just made it and didn't think much of it, like not in terms of it, whether it was going to be the next big thing or anything, but we just made it out of the passion of making a short horror film. And it turned out, you know, it gave me opportunities to go to Halifax and be part of the show and be part of CBC, you know, Short Film Face Off and all that stuff. And it kind of opened the door for, I think it was more at the end, it was for me to give me the confidence to continue. You know, it was, I think as a young filmmaker, I guess you're always searching for, I don't know what the word escapes me, but the reassurance that what you're doing is, validation. Yeah.
Validation.
The validation of you as a filmmaker. And then when I got that, I felt like just what Ian was alluding to, the stepping stones, the personal goal that you've achieved. And I don't know if that answered your question, but it definitely
absolutely.
It definitely I felt like it put me in the right trajectory in terms of where I wanted to go, and then the trust to go into that path.
Awesome. Joanne, I'm just wondering, you know, we all make projects. There's different ways to get it out there. Do you what role do you find social media plays in getting your films seen by people? You know, talking about a measure of success and that being one of them. Is that a tool that you find you're using?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've been very fortunate in the last couple of years of my career to have gotten a rather sizable, for me, following of people that want to know what I'm doing and always so very supportive. And I think that using social media as a tool to get your projects out there, to let people know ahead of time what you're doing. So I had been promoting this for a couple of weeks now, and I know that there are some people in the audience for me. Hello, everyone. And being able to have those posts out there so that other people can share what you've been doing. I know that with my first piece for the Creator Network, there were so many shares, and I think just that power of marketing, where you just put something out there and other people are responsible for sharing it out into the ether, and other people coming back to you, I think is something very powerful, something that shouldn't be discounted just as much as traditional marketing methods, for sure.
Yeah. Is there anyone here that's used traditional marketing methods, a publicist, when they're promoting their short films? Jim?
I guess I do a lot of work with CBC, so it's kind of changed over the years. When I first started, there was a publicist, there was someone that would, you know, you would do little interviews, you do all of that. But now it's changed where it's like social media is kind of in a sense where you can do it yourself to promote, and other bigger organizations will either leverage that and help you get your name out more and your social media out. And then they have an entire infrastructure which kind of pushes that more. So it's kind of nice because you kind of have like this double this double effect where it's like you do your own thing, they share your thing, and then their machine or whatever they have in place helps promote it even more. So it's nice, and it creates a good dialogue, and that dialogue is like so important. You get both of it from the traditional like publicist, and you get it on your own social media, and it's all shared. So it's nice.
What would you say, Jim, is the kind of timeline or life cycle of a short film from the time that you think about your concept to like when you're done promoting it and it's like out there and it's left your hands and you're no longer actively, pushing it?
That depends, because I've worked on projects like I've worked on longer form projects with CBC where they've told me no like for a year. And so it's gone from there where you have to just kind of convince them, and eventually you do it and you're in the thick of it, and then it airs or wherever, and then you have this little cycle after. Is like, does it have a shelf life, right? And for example, the film Bakla was made in 2019, but it's still being asked for places around the world, and it's still being shown, and that's 2 years later. And it just goes to show, if it has an impact and the message is great, and it's a current topic, then it will just have a great shelf life. And I think that's the big thing. So I guess to answer your question is just like, if the message is important to you, then you're just going to keep, then you're going to tell other people about it, and then it becomes relevant still, I guess.
Of course. So I know many of you have been doing this for a very long time. Jim, I know your career has spanned over 15 years. And playing off of a meme that's been very popular these days, how it started and how it's going. What is, and I ask you all to think about this, I'll call on all of you, but like, what is some lessons that you did in the beginning that you would just never do now? And embarrassing stories are welcome.
Oh, man. I guess the biggest lesson I've learned is that your filmmaking storytelling skills can be transferred to other things. And I think that if you have a sense of at least storytelling, then you can do anything. You can do radio, you can do articles, you can do anything. And I mean, that's the great thing. Like in my career now, it's like I've transitioned from doing a lot of film work to now I'm doing a lot of radio. And it's documentary for me. So the storytelling's the same. The medium is different, which means, wow, it's a big learning curve, but it's really nice because I think because the people in this room have, we're all filmmakers. We've learned to deal with stress, B, to be very productive on timelines, right? Because it's so sensitive, and to know that like you have to listen to everyone and you get that creative criticism and it makes the project better. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned, is that you still have to know what your vision is, but at the same time, listen to everyone because they can give some great advice.
Thank you. Ian, any lessons from your career so far, what you did at the beginning that you definitely wouldn't do now?
Shoot on 16. I love 16. I shoot it on, like, it's beautiful. It's the worst thing in the world. It like the first time my friends and I shot on 16, we shot at Frame Arts Warehouse for we were shooting this awful movie that was like so like student film. It was just like this cool guy who kills his girlfriend because he's cheating. It's so lame. And we were filming for like 26 hours on 16 mil, and we poured blood on the ground on this wooden floor of this old warehouse, and it was like 5 a.m. and the blood wouldn't come out of the ground because we bought the cheapest blood because we're broke, and we're cleaning it up, and then I'm pouring bleach on it, and it cleaned the floors too good, and then I started pouring coffee on it to make it darker. And so and then I'm like, there, now it kind of looks dirty again. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And I've been touching bleach for an hour. And it was anyways, I learned that's more of a story, not about 16, but more of a story of just I don't know. It's when you get people that know things I wish I just talked to someone and be like, what blood? Or just assemble the people that knows things better than you, and don't try to do everything yourself. It was like me and my 3 friends who aren't camera guys, like for the most part. Like we never shot in 16 before. The film didn't work because we tried to shoot on 16. Like the camera itself didn't work. So that's one thing, like that was like my first thing that popped in my head. I'm sure I have many other stories of BS awful things I've done in my life that is terrible in film. Things I'm doing now that I'm like proud of or going on. I think that is essentially like I know what my weaknesses are. I know, like, I can shoot. I know how to hold a camera. I can frame a shot, but I know 10 other people that are 10 times better than me, and I'd rather have them do it for me. And I'm a communicator. That is my skill set. I'm a better vocalizer. So I'd rather communicate this out to that guy who knows how to use the camera and let them do that. And that's one thing I've definitely like learned over the years.
Thanks. How about you, Joanne?
I think jumping with what Jim and Ian said, I think it's really important in this industry if you want to be financially viable, to be multidisciplinary. So I make documentaries, I write articles, I write plays, I can act, and it's very important just to stay afloat. The more skills you have, and they're all very transferable one to another, the more you're able to make a living at it. I mean, I feel like all of us really know how difficult it is to be like a full-time artist. It's a tough life. I think something that I learned very early in my career is to like read your effing emails all the way through. So like I'm telling this story because like I feel like I'm just gaining more traction in my career, and I'm just like putting it all out there. I was up for a television show, which I got, surprisingly, but the role was like for this drugged up rapper girl, and I thought that it was very strange that they didn't send me any sides for the audition. And so like the night before, I was like, oh, I should probably just check, and they did send me sides. So I had sides in my inbox for a week for this, and it was a French television show. And so it was like the night before, it was a first thing in the morning audition, and I was like, oh shit. So I memorized all of the sides. But as like another thing is they forgot to send me the rap. I had to rap. And wow. I should have like had the foresight to be like, hey, is there something you want me to learn? So the morning of the audition, I went in and it was my worst nightmare. They handed me a piece of paper. They were like, can you just freestyle this? So I like had to rap in 2 languages that are not my first language. Yes. So I'm begging the internet not to drum up those audition tapes because I did it like 8 times. And that's when I learned, like, always read your emails all the way through. Maybe do it more than once because at some point it's going to catch up to you. And then you'll want to just throw yourself off a balcony because you don't know how to rap.
Oh man, that sounds stressful. Speaking of being multidisciplinary, I see that, I mean, many of you are multidisciplinary, and Vince, in your bio, you're an architect by training. What was the journey from choosing that as a post-secondary degree and then moving into film?
Right, yeah, like, like I studied architecture, and I was earning my Master's of Landscape Architecture at university. But I've always wanted to be a filmmaker since I was a kid. But, you know, I kind of took the advice of my parents and other people around me, and none of them were ever involved in the film industry. And, you know, you kind of always hear that, you know, you're a filmmaker, you're not going to make anything and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So they all had the best intentions for me, but, you know, I couldn't shake the wanted to be a filmmaker, and I kind of, you know, chose the safe path and went into architecture. But eventually, you know, I had to do a graduate level course outside of architecture, and I could pick whatever I wanted. And some people were choosing psychology and whatnot. And then I knew that there was a graduate level filmmaking course, which Jim was my TA. And then after that, I took it, and it was the best. That was like the funnest year at university for me. You know, I spent 7 years earning my architecture degree, and but that year was like when I was doing those films, even though I had no idea what I was doing, and we were making films and learning on the way, I lived for that Wednesday night, that evening course to do film. So when I graduated, you know, I just wanted to enter film, and in a strange way, you know, architecture got me into film because I worked as a set designer in the industry now. But I work independently as a cinematographer and as a director. But I guess for advice, I would say, like, for myself, for anybody listening, I would just say to not hesitate, just go for it. And some mistakes that I've made was always thinking that I needed, like, as a director, as a cinematographer, that you needed all this equipment or all this gear. And you really don't. I've wasted a lot of money buying stuff that I shouldn't have, essentially. And, it's just like, especially now, you have less excuse now, like, to be honest, than before, right? Like, everyone can shoot an amazing picture even on an iPhone. Everyone's got a phone with a camera on it. So just go out and do it. And everyone's heard this advice a million times, but I think that you really have to go out there and do it.
Awesome. You mentioned that you have, you work in the art department. We have a question from one of the viewers here. So they want to know what is the importance of experience outside of work and how it reflects in your projects? And if you have any examples. Jim, I'll throw it to you for that one.
I guess I've lived with a lot of people involved in like with bands, with touring bands and that life. And I think I've worked a lot overseas in Europe, doing festival videography for different acts. And what I've learned is that you roll with it. Sometimes you're going to live in a caravan, which is a tour bus for a couple of weeks, months, and you just have to learn how to gain everyone's trust and just roll with it and have fun with it. But always be prepared. Like, the first time I ever went to Europe, this is funny. So there's a story here. In 2008, it was the first time ever going to England, and I had this gigantic, I don't know if you guys remember XL1 cameras, like, they're huge on mini DV tapes. Band is getting set up. There's a great moment to, like, capture just like this interaction for the first time. And I'm still setting up this behemoth of a camera because I'm not really sure. It's like, what do I do here? I'm here. Okay, am I ready? Do I be ready? And I totally missed the moment. And so that's when you learn, like, okay, you got to be ready at all times. I was a newbie. You just have to go with it, and you have to adapt, and you have to learn to listen to people and just see what, see where the story takes you and have fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing. And remember, like, I think the biggest thing is that you're making films, and if you're doing it, like, you're having fun, like it's a job, yes, but if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. And that's the biggest thing too. You have a privilege to capture someone's story and to do something, fun through your own lens. I think that that's the best part. And I think that's what you have to take to heart when you do this.
Awesome. Thank you. So I got a chance to watch, the projects that are screening in the short program here. And I just have some questions related to, your projects. And so, Ian, you're an actor as well as a writer and a director and, and all of the other departments that are involved in making a film. And your father stars in Strong Son. And I was wondering, what was the process of deciding to stay behind the camera for this film?
Yeah, I wouldn't define myself very much as an actor. I'm like, I do okay in that sense. I'm not a great actor, and I talk to the casting directors in the city, and they'll probably say the same thing. So Strong Son, which is playing this festival, is a film essentially about my father and a father and son, bodybuilder son, who are at the gym together, and the father basically giving him life and marital advice in a voiceover. And it's like a short little 3-minute thing, and it stars my actual father. And then it stars a bodybuilder, an actual bodybuilder who's also a filmmaker named Mandeep Sodhi. And I've been asked this before, and people are like, why didn't you just play the son? Because the film is very personal. It's essentially about me and my father and our relationship. A couple of reasons. One, it becomes a documentary all of a sudden. This film right now is kind of like, it's shot on Super 8. It's very like, it's a little bit of hybrid of a doc and narrative. It kind of falls in this really gray area, which I find is really interesting. I don't think I know I'm not an actor. I think it'd be too close to home if all of a sudden, like, if someone were to watch that and all of a sudden be like, that's Ian and that's Ian's dad, it becomes a different film. It becomes this, like, it's a diary, a mini doc, and I never wanted it to be that. It was never a film that was supposed to be this emotional thing, or like, Ian being vulnerable, which it ended up being. It's a film that I made for me and about me because I thought it was funny because it was about my dad and me and our weird relationship. And I always thought it was funny, but other people were like, no, you opened up in it because it was truthful. And I didn't realize that. And I was only able to open up in it because I got someone else to play it or play myself. And also I thought it was funny to have the most extreme version of myself, which is Mandeep Sodhi, this bodybuilder, play me. And Mandeep and I were friends, and he was directing a show like a couple summers ago, and he was my lighting guy. And I would go to him and be like, look at you, look at your arms. You're the better South Asian guy than me. My dad is so proud of you. Your arms are the size of my head. That's crazy. And you're married and you have a kid and you're like, your mom lives with you. You are for sure like way better than me as you know, like traditional sense of culture. I don't know. And that's also skewed. What does that even mean? But yeah, I think it becomes a different movie in that sense.
Totally, that makes sense. Joanne, your film is very personal to your experience of how your Asianness ties into your skin tone. And I was wondering, after making the film, did the conversation with your mom change about, you know, her comments about your skin tone when it was lighter, or how did she feel about seeing that for the first time?
I just want to jump in with a point for Ian. Have you ever been in front and behind the camera at the same time? It sucks. Like, that's another reason. By the by.
Yeah, I've done both in that, or sorry, at the same time I've done it. And it depends what it is. Like if it's like me doing a talking head or something, like I'm fine. Also, it depends who's shooting it. Like my friend Kwan is a great shooter and I like working with him, and like I can do that still. And same with my friend Marcus, because we know they know me well enough, and it's so I can balance it. It just depends, but it's a hard balance. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super interesting about my film, and now I'm not so afraid to go out into the sun. I'm not trying to just stay this like very pale color that I unfortunately am now because no one goes outside anymore. It's been very nice. I think that I've had people in my life that comment on how beautiful my skin tone is, whether it's this pale or whether it's my normal like summer shade of like a very nice golden brown. And I think it just does really well for my soul. Like, not only do I get that internal validation that, you know, maybe I am pretty no matter how much I go into the sun and how dark my skin is or how light my skin is, but like other people notice that too. And there are more conversations being started about other people who cross-culturally have felt the same way about their skin tone and have very internal struggles with it. So it's been a lovely experience.
Great. And we have a question actually from one of our commenters for you, Joanne. What would you say is the biggest difference between theater and film, and what lessons are transferable to film?
I think that both of these, they're very different art forms. I think that both of them have very transferable skills in terms of acting and being on crew. But I think the biggest difference is that in theater, your entire scope, it depends on the audience vantage point. So you have this entire theater, you have so many seats. Sometimes you have seats all around on all three sides. Sometimes it's like 360. So the viewpoint is very, very different versus in film. Not only can you repeat things until you get things perfect, versus theater, it's very immediate. It's very high stakes. You have one viewpoint, and it's where is the camera pointing? What is it showing for how long? So it's very, very specific. So I teach classes also, and I find that my students, they play to like the back of the audience for a theater. And so their movements are very big and they're very exaggerated, versus in film, I find that they're saying that I have to just like focus on the camera, and it's like not necessarily acting for a giant audience, it's like acting for me. So I think I think as an actor, that's a very big difference. I couldn't really speak for crew. I know that there are very similar skills, but certainly two very different art forms for sure.
Thanks. Joanne's film was very personal to her. Jim, your film dealt with very personal subject matter, but for other people. And I was wondering, because it was a vehicle for some of the subjects coming out to their family members for the first time, what kind of support was provided for that vulnerable moment for those people? And do you know how they're doing now? How that you know, played out?
Yeah, I think the best thing is that when Ali Gonzalo, who's the photographer that did the Project Bakla, we had a great discussion about how the impact it would have to take these photos and for the impact it would have to their families. A lot of the people in the film came to me after and said, "This is amazing. Like, this is the first time I was able to tell my parents exactly how I feel." And they have a very clear picture of it now, you know? So that's a great thing. I mean, it's done a lot for them that way. The community around it, my Filipino community now talks about it more. You know, in my family too, like you hear bakla and there's all these derogatory things that are said, you know? And now when we have the discussion about it, it's not like that anymore. And the same is said for a lot of the families of the people in the film. They're like, now they can have a discussion. And that's huge. Like, if you can do that with a film, like, I mean, everyone here, like, the power of like film, if you can do that and have a discussion and have an impact on someone's life, that, like, that's what it's all about. And I think that's what it's all about for Ali, for myself, and the people that were in the film. They wanted a voice, and this gave it to them. So I mean, that's the power of this. That's why we do it, I think.
For sure. Going back to the question of what is success, like, that sounds exactly like success, just on a huge scale. Thank you. We have another question from our commenters, and Vince, I'll throw this one to you. So, as creators who regularly take on different roles and responsibilities in your filmmaking process, how do you eventually learn to trust others with those roles and responsibilities?
This is actually a question from my girlfriend. Oh my goodness. Put me on the spot.
Get her on.
Can we say hi?
Part. You know, at first, when I first started, I was very tunnel vision. You know, when I was making my own films, I had to be the director, cinematographer. I wanted complete creative control. And then just, there's a certain level of your skill set that you cap at. You know, you can't break past the barrier of, what you want to achieve based on just by yourself. You have to bring others in, and you have to use like what they can offer to the project. And it's always, film is 100% a collaborative experience, and the film only improves if you have more input from everybody, and the creative juices are flowing. My girlfriend helps from the pre-production phase a lot. When I'm even just making films and just talking, we're driving and we're talking about film and stuff like that. So I guess, did I answer your question? I don't know. But I definitely, I guess when I first, I had very much tunnel vision, and now I'm much more open to trusting everybody and what they bring on for the project. And I'm a much better filmmaker because of that, for sure.
Awesome. There's another question here from the commenters. Sorry, let me find it again. Ian, I'll throw this one to you. What advice would you give to individuals who wish to pursue a career in art but feel discouraged when being told it's not an ideal career?
Get over it. Come on, man. No, hey, it's not easy being an artist. It's the most bipolar source of income you'll probably ever face, because you're gonna have days where you think you're the best, and you're gonna have days where you're gonna think you're the worst. And honestly, you have to be sustainable in the thought sense of staying in your own lane, because you're not competing against anyone. You're competing against yourself constantly, and you have to stay in your own lane and just be a train and never stop moving. You got to just keep going straight at it. It's really easy to get discouraged because we are completely overrun with content and seeing other people's work and seeing our friends and what they're doing, and this person's getting into this, and you got to remove jealousy, because you can't be that person. I can't be Vince. If Vince gets into Sundance, I can't be Vince. I can't make Vince's movie. I can only make whatever I can make. So this discouragedness, yeah, you're gonna feel it. You just have to learn to live with it and move on past it. We all have, it's we're all gonna have it. It's just how long do you let it dwell in your stomach? That you should have that 5 minutes of I want that. That's effing annoying. And then go, okay, let's move past it. Let me focus on my thing and keep thinking that way. It's hard. And here's one advice I'll say for everyone. Find your champion. Find that person, whether that's a partner, that's a good friend, that's your parents, whatever that is. Find the person that when you are having those down days that will like come to you and be like, you're the best. Screw that. You know, you say, oh man, sorry, Vince, I'm like going after you. Vince gone to Sundance. Probably will happen. Like Vince gone to Sundance. And I like text my good friend and he goes, oh, good for him. And I was like, that's the right response. Yeah, good for him. You're right. And I move past it. And that's what my champion does. They don't go, fuck Vince. They go, no, good for him. You're doing your own thing. Focus up. And that's it. So like discouragedness is there. You just gotta like stay in your own lane.
Is there, Vince, I mean, I'm going back to you, and Ian picked on you too, so I apologize. But
I'm for you, dude. I'm coming for you.
This kind of circles back to you pursuing architecture in a traditional kind of career path at the encouragement of your family, and then ultimately deciding to not do that. You know, now that you've been working in film, now that you're making your own films, you've had success with the short film competition, you have a career working on, you know, union stuff. Are they like, was that transition immediate when they saw that you could make a career out of it? Has it been more of a process of winning them over to this path?
Right. They're still not kind of over it. They think that, like, I studied architecture for 7 years. You know, they put a lot of money into it. It was a big investment. And, you know, for them, you know, it kind of feels like, especially at the beginning, it felt like I threw away my entire tuition. You know what I mean? Like I earned that degree, but I, you know, tossed it out the window essentially. Right. And I wanted to pursue film and all that stuff. Right. But I think now that they see that, you know, I'm working, and I guess that could be like, you know, that's I can support myself essentially. Then you know, they understand that aspect of it. But in terms for Nathan's question, to answer it, just like what Ian said, you don't hesitate. You know what I mean? Like for me, I wish I could turn back the time and make films when I was 16 or 18 years old. You know, and not go to school. Not to say that school was something that was a waste of time. You know, I learned so much in architecture school, that so many skills that I had learned during my program, they're very applicable to not only set design, but also me as a filmmaker. You know, the work ethic it took to go into architecture school and stuff like that was very much almost like film. You know, you are working 12, 14-hour days and stuff like that, and grinding as hard as you can. But for any advice for any filmmaker is, if you want to be a filmmaker, then become one. You know, then don't just go out there and just do it. You know, and you'll find the answer whether or not it's the right career path for you. But for me, it was just hard for me to shake the dream. You know, like I always wanted to be a filmmaker, and you know, I tried to go to architecture school and think that, you know, it was just going to go away. But you know, as I was nearing graduation, you know, I had an identity crisis. You know what I mean? Like I had like a midlife crisis essentially. You know, I didn't know what I didn't know what I was going to do. So I'm very glad that I chose to follow, I guess, my dream and what I wanted to do with my life, and I don't regret it at all. And I think if anybody chooses to follow what they believe in and what they want to do, then I don't think you'll ever regret that.
Absolutely. I don't think we can deny our dreams and expect to live a fulfilled life. So
do you think your parents will eventually succumb to the realization that you're likely going to do this for the rest of your life? And I say this out of my own experience, but
right. Yeah, I think they're more open to it now.
Right.
Like, especially when I bring home a paycheck.
It's a weird, like, we could have probably a whole panel on like Asian parent in art.
Right, exactly.
And like, yeah, because like I think a majority of us can relate to that subject, because my I think the last 2 years, like my dad finally accepted what I did. And like, because I came home one day and was like, I haven't worked in 3 weeks. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a bad mood today. And he's like, you get work you'll be fine. You go through this. You always say you go through this, and then you get work and you're busy for like 3 months. I'm like, oh yeah. So like, yeah, it's a weird concept, Asian parents and film.
Let's go around and talk about what we were supposed to be when we grew up. Okay, I'll go first.
Right.
Doctor.
But definitely like
lawyer.
Yeah. But yeah, like they definitely like. I think my parents are much more open to it, and strangely enough, is because I keep showing them like, just how the films are changing now. Like films like Minari,
Yeah.
Films like that are coming out, and they, I've always watched the Oscars with my parents, and then it's kind of like the first time they've ever seen an Asian.
Chloe Zhao, like that was
Chloe Zhao, and getting an Academy Award and doing all that stuff. Not to say that, you know what I mean, like, oh, Vince, you gotta get an Academy Award and then be a successful filmmaker, but like, they see that, it's almost like I see other Asians doing it, and then it's like
100%.
Oh yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan, like I was like, look, Dad, a brown guy's winning an Oscar is not, I remember saying that to my dad or something like that, and like, no, it's surreal, and that's like, like the more of us doing this is like important for that, like for other parents to be accepted. It's so like chain reaction of it all.
Yeah.
I understand like how surreal it is, like that. I feel like all of us in this panel right now are the kind of people that like I wish I would have seen on screen growing up. Like and it's pretty cool, I think, being in that position and hopefully like fostering other young Asian creatives to like get into this business, because like we're around, we're totally there. There's more of us now.
Yeah,
we're there, and you can be here too.
I know we sidetracked. I was going to say one last thing. The like a year ago when Danny Boyle Yesterday came out, that Beatles movie, I got so excited when that trailer dropped, and I was in Toronto in a workshop with a friend, and I ran over to his room and I said, "Man, check out the new Danny Boyle trailer. Beatles, look at this actor. I don't know who this is. It's a brown guy playing guitar. That could have been me." And I remember saying that to him, and he's my friend's like a white guy, and he was just like, it looks like a good movie. I don't really understand that side of it, but like, and he couldn't relate, but I was like, man, like, it's just cool. Like this guy kind of looks like me, and he's playing guitar and I play guitar. Like I could have been casted as this. And I was like, I could have been a lead to a Danny Boyle movie. I love Danny Boyle. And it's weird that I've had so little of those moments in my life. And I'm like, yeah. And that only happened like a year and a half ago. So anyways.
Right. Absolutely.
No, I love this discussion just within you guys. And I was actually going to throw it to you. I know some of you know each other well, some not so well. We're all kind of aware of each other's work, but like, does anyone have any questions for anyone else on the panel about their career, about their trajectory, about their projects? Joanne.
I do. And this is for everybody. So I know like we all would love to get a paycheck, which is lovely. But sometimes I know that like we all volunteer on other projects, and I was just wondering if you all had just like your criteria as to like when you decide to donate your time and why.
Yeah, if I believe in the person, and I like Vince is an example. Like Vince is so proud of you because you're an example of a person that grinded so hard, knew what they wanted to do, was like blown away by all this stuff you were doing, and it's like this guy is gonna totally be really good at this. And it's like you see that and you hear the stories and like where you are now, it's like that's amazing. Like that's dedication. I mean, for myself, when you see that person that's just so stoked, even if you don't get what they're talking about, because I know all of us have been in that position where your friends are just like looking at you like, all right, man, like, okay, cool, but I'll be behind you. And I think that's the reason why. I know for me now, that's the reason why I want to help people that I believe in, and people are going to work hard, because we all worked hard to get where like at least some, at this level. So it's like, you want to see the next generation do it, and you want to help that person because, man, it feels good to know you were in that same position too, and that you see someone else coming up there. That feels great. And to see people succeed, like Vince, you're like the A+, like per people that I know. So good job, man.
Well, thank you, man.
They're going to pick on you a little bit. Oh, I'm
yeah, thank you.
How about you, Ian? I know you volunteer on a lot. You volunteered on projects that I've worked on too. So what is your criteria?
Well, I want to pick on Vince here's the funny thing about picking on Vince. Only because I tend to do a lot of these types of things and panels and different things. I always get bullied because I think I'm like, I show very well as like a guy that can take heat and also like even like, get bullied and picked on or be used as examples because I'm always smiling. And I think you're me in this round for whatever reason, because I started it. And I'm like, I'm so happy I started bullying you first, because now you're the example child on this panel. As for like volunteering or like giving my time, So I will say I'm more picky these days. I'm busy as hell, and I'm very like, if someone reaches out, if someone reaches out, I might like 90% of the time respond, and if I don't, it's just like I forgot to. I very much believe in sending the elevator down low, or back down, just to because I'm at a place now where I can help or give advice or whatever. I'm just very like, I think, stringent about like what they're asking. I'm very like, what do you need? How much of my time do you need? Et cetera, et cetera. And you know, I'm also like, it's how they approach it. It's very specific. Like I love emails, or I love like a very direct message, like, hi Ian, my name is this. This is what I do. This is what I want to do. I've seen your work and I'm a fan, or whatever. This is my ask. It's like a three sentence email. I don't need a paragraph. Like, there's a very good book I recommend everyone who's watching this reading, called The Third Door. And it's a book about this guy who basically just wants to interview like Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, like the highest of the highest people. He wants to write a book about it. And it's a book about networking. And it's great. And it's really just the idea of just like, don't be weird and be specific to your ask, and don't be afraid to ask. And I think those are very good rules. And so that being said, like, you know, I always tell people, reach out if you have a question or if you need advice. You know, I'm usually pretty honest about like, this is like, I can give you some advice if you send it to me, like, you know, but I'm also like, sometimes I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't right now. This is that. So it's just the window of time. And, you know, usually it's nice if I've met the person, or they have a good Instagram account, or I'll say, where I can like stalk them out. And be like, you are, well, like, you know, like something to prove that they're a real person and they're like into film, or they're into photography, or they're into something that, like, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, I see that you're passionate about X. But some don't have that, and they just want advice about how to get started. And I also understand that. So just don't be afraid to ask. I talk with a lot of like confidence, and yeah. And so, but don't be afraid to ask like a question of like, you know, I won't bite.
Mm-hmm. And also can just one thing and I mean with everyone, like, narrow your focus. Like, if you have something that you want to do, I mean, just from working like as a producer and as working like with CBC and stuff, the worst thing is you have someone who has a great idea, but they have such a big topic and they can't narrow their focus. And that's the thing you need to do. If you reach out to someone, reach out to them, but narrow your focus and tell them exactly what Ian said, what you need, because like time is precious. So we can't go through and figure it out with you. But if you know what you need from us to help you, then that helps a lot.
Yeah, going off Jim said, I usually, and I think Tommy, who's semi-moderating this, I think I met with him for coffee like years ago, and I think I did this with him, but I can't remember. But I was like, he had like questions about producing, and I said, bring 10 questions. You have 1 to 3. I have a meeting after that. Like, I was very specific, and I was like, bring 10 questions that you want asked. I've done that with other friends and people I even know. I'm like, bring like 5 to 10 questions that you specifically want asked. Just so then you're not wasting someone's time, and it doesn't become like, you know, you can focus, and, you know, it's just time is worth, like Jim said, time is worth more than money. I don't care about buying me a coffee or lunch. My time is worth more. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you. We have a question from the comments about funding. So it says, since we're celebrating Asian Heritage Month, and as Asian Canadians, how do you feel on getting support and getting your film made with funding? Any advice, any problems getting support, and how did you overcome those problems? There's a 2-part question. Vince, since we didn't get to you for the volunteering part, do you have any advice about getting funding and how you go about that process?
Yeah, like this is just from my own personal experience. I've done a lot of grant writing and stuff like that. You know, I'm sure we've all spent many hours in front of a computer and writing grants and doing what we needed to do. And, you know, your success rate on getting funds, at least for me, wasn't very high, you know, but I think that you just have to, I guess, more look at it in terms of don't get defeated when you don't get a fund. And because you're going to get a lot more no's than you get a lot more yeses. I think what you can't do is just continue to focus on things that you can control, because you can't control whether someone decides to give you a fund or not. And don't think that it's not good enough or something like that. I think that for me, when I first started out, I just kind of submitted the funds, but then I was trying to grow myself as a filmmaker as well. And I think now that I've kind of created a portfolio essentially of enough work, I think they can look at me a little more seriously. So I think in that aspect, just don't take it personally, and just continue to grow as a filmmaker. And you know, the effort that you put in will be rewarded in the future.
Awesome. I know that sometimes as filmmakers, short films, etc., we pursue funding, and sometimes we self-fund. Does anyone want to speak to the pros and cons of that route? Joanne?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of self-funding, and that's just because I don't have the funds to self-fund. But the thing is, when you do self-fund, you are in complete creative control. You don't have to answer to someone. I usually work with producers over at CBC. Hey, Jim. And it's a very collaborative process. And sometimes I want something and my producer wants something else. So it's a matter of being very collaborative, being open to changing your vision just for the betterment of the film. But when you're self-funding, you don't have anyone to answer to. So that can be a really great thing, and that can be a really negative thing, because you can just like zero in and hyper-focus and just miss stuff. So, I mean, yeah, there are pros and cons to everything. I think being able to keep that autonomy over your project is mostly a good thing. I think, but certainly yeah.
I really want to say something to what you said, and this is, I hope no one at work is listening, but so if you do have a film and you are working with a producer and you're really hard set on something, like the length, you need to include it, just do it and show it, and get them to tell you why it doesn't work, and don't be afraid to fight for it. Like, I fight for it all the time. For example, Bakla was an example of how they wanted it to be 4 minutes, and eventually they let me have 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I think it is. And that was just by fighting, because I was like, you want to do the injustice of doing this thing by cutting it for a certain length, but you're not telling the story. And for the people to come out and to do this on camera nationally is a huge deal. We can't rob them of that. And so you just fight, you know? And it's like you said, like, you are going to, like, if you're self-funded, yes, you have that. But the fun thing about, I feel like, in terms of my career now, is that I love fighting with producers and everyone, because it's like, you feel so strong about it. I mean, we're filmmakers. We believe so strong about it. I don't want someone to destroy my work of art, but at the same time, I realize there's parameters, right? And I've been on both sides of that too, right? You know, but there's parameters. So you got to be willing to fight for what you believe in. And I think that's at the heart of it. If you don't, you know you're not going to be happy, and the project will probably suffer. So fight as much as you can, and don't expect to be like it to go like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. They're not going to say that. They believe in your project. They want you to bring your vision.
Great. We are nearing the end of our session, but there's a couple more questions in the comments, and some of them kind of tie into each other. One of them is just about dream projects. What is your dream project, and have you got to work on a dream project, and what were your feelings and emotions once you got that opportunity? Vince?
Oh, man. I don't know if I have like a dream project, but I guess a dream project would be someone who, someone who would trust me to be, like, for me right now, I was always kind of, should I be a director or a cinematographer? I don't know, right? Like, I was kind of walking both sides. And then I think now that I've kind of discovered myself to be much more of a cinematographer. So I think in terms of a dream project was just having a director, someone that trusts me to shoot their picture. Is in itself, just having that trust is a dream collaboration, essentially.
Awesome. How about you, Ian?
I think these days, like, I'm doing a lot of the stuff I happy with what I'm doing right now. Like as a dream job, I don't know, like that's like, it's so like, you don't know it's a dream till afterwards, I find, where I'm like, that was a really good film. I don't know. I think for me, it's like getting to work with some of my heroes is always like a dream job in that respect. But that can come. That's like not impossible is the thing I've realized. So like, it's not really a dream. It's just like, it's a goal at this point. Because if I call it a dream, it feels like it's not going to happen as much. If I call it a goal, I'm going to do it eventually. Like if I write a good enough script, I can get a producer attached and get the stars and stuff. Nothing's unattainable in a sense. It's just a matter of doing it. So yeah, a dream would be like having someone like I respect, like work with Taika, work with I don't know, I can't think of names right now, but like cool, Edgar Wright. Like I love Edgar Wright movies. They make me happy. They make me feel good, you know. So yeah, things that excite me. That's pretty much it.
Thanks. How about you, Joanne?
Honestly, my Gimli film was pretty dream project, like right from the start to its like eventual finish. I had such a wonderful cast and crew, and filming days went off without a hitch. It feels so good to be able to like surround yourself with people while being socially distanced, who know what they're doing. So like honestly, I was just able to like hands off. Everyone knew what I wanted, and I felt like I didn't need to be there. Like that's such a weird thing for me, like as a director and a producer, to like feel like I'm not needed on my own set. So that was like such a wonderful feeling. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. But in terms of, I think I agree with Ian, like calling something a dream, just makes it like seem really unattainable. So like I think my next goal is like writing or producing or helming a network series. Keep posted on this space. It may or may not. But yeah, I think that's the next thing for me, is trying to find something regular. Maybe like, I mean, Kim's Convenience is canceled. Maybe I'll write the next one. No, something like that.
Yeah. And how about you, Jim?
I can't say what it is, but I'm doing it right now.
Ooh,
so I can't, yeah, but I could say like right now, I would think that with the pandemic and everything going on, I've had to pivot my skills towards something else that's really exciting and terrifying. But in terms of dreams, I'm doing it right now. So I'm stoked. I can't talk about it, but yeah.
Nice.
Can you tell us secretly when this is over?
I'll talk for Jim. It's Terminator. He's doing Terminator 3D. It'll be supreme and great as always because it's Jim.
Oh, whatever.
All right. Well, we have arrived at that time where we have to wrap it up. So I have a quick two-parter question for each one of you. What are you working on next that you can tell us about or you want people to check out? And, you know, in light of Asian Heritage Month and celebrating other Asian creators, tell us somebody that you want us to check out that we might not have seen their work. Joanne, I'll go for you first.
Sure. So I've been really lucky to be working with a film company called The Ordinary Film Company, and there are some wonderful Asian creatives on there. There's Chris Vergacho and Jacob Unica, who are just lovely people. They do shoots, they do like video shoots, they do film shoots, they do everything. So I'm always looking forward to see what they're coming up with next. I know that they're doing a passion project, filming something called, I believe it's called The Continental. So if you follow them on Instagram at The Ordinary Film Co., you can find updates on that. They're my favorite. I just love them. Hey guys, I don't think they're watching, but in terms of projects that are coming up next, yeah, I have a CBC series with Creator Network that's premiering. It's called I Am, and we're talking about different aspects of Filipino culture and identity. So the first episode will be Robbie Ambrosio. We're talking about the ideal weight in Filipino culture and not fitting into that. So I'm really excited for that series to premiere. I think it's going to come out in the month of June. And then also like pivoting to theater, I'm writing a play. I have written a play that's getting its first reading at Red Betty Theater's Decolonize Your Ears Festival in June. So it's on June 25th. If anyone wants to come, follow me on Instagram at Joanne's Maison, and you'll get all of the super annoying updates and selfies of my face as I tell you what's going on in my life. So
great, thank you. How about you, Vince?
The question was sorry. The question
what are you working on next, or what is something that people can check out of yours? And then like give us another Asian creator that you're loving these days that you want people to check out.
I can't believe it. Totally.
You have one job, Vince. Just listen and answer.
Oh, my bad. Okay, but for like some Asian filmmakers in the city, all of us, obviously Jim, Ian, Joanne, these guys, but also Kwan, Aaron, Alec, Carlos, and Tommy Interath. He's always helped me out a bunch of films too. I'm
Wait,
just
who's Tommy? What's his face?
Tommy Interath. Yeah, but I guess a project that I'm working on, like I recently got the grant from Harold Greenberg Fund for my film Presence, and so I'm excited to work on that with hydraulic content. I don't think I'm allowed to say too much about it, but it's like a terminally ill father is tricked by his own reflection in the promise of a cure to save him and be with his family as well. So that was probably the worst elevator pitch ever, but that's what I'm working on, right? So
awesome. Yeah. Thank you. How about you, Jim?
I can't talk about it, but you'll find out about it, I think, next week. Stay tuned. In terms of creators in the city, actually, it's funny because one of them is Ali Gonzalo, who did Bakla, like a wonderful photographer. And another friend of mine, Ken Lozano, who's a fashion designer. He's at Aldo's formal wear. He does Sartorial Funk, makes beautiful clothes, and is a fashion photographer. So check out his stuff. It's great.
Thank you. And finally, Ian, does it involve a cast of small puppies? What you're working on?
I'm taking care of me, okay? Here's about movies. No, I'm kidding. I love that. I always say that whenever it's like, what's going on? Or like, what are you working on these days? And when I don't want to, this is a great tip for networking. When someone's asking you that annoying question, like, what are you working on these days? And I go, me. And people go, oh. But I actually also congrats, Vince. I forgot. We both got the Harold Greenberg MFM fund. And it's actually funny when they told, because I asked them when I got the phone call who else got it, and they told me Vince and his team. And then they actually gave me little pitches, their log lines of each. And Vince's and mine sound not similar, but semi in the same themes, I'd say. So I'm doing that as a short film. It's called My Son Went Quiet, and it's about a father and son. After their mom and wife dies, they start seeing a shadow around the house, and they think it's their mother/wife. They don't know. So it's this really drama haunted house movie that I wrote a few months ago. That I'm excited doing, and I did some camera tests recently that I want to share, but I can't, but it looks great so far. And then I'm actually doing a feature version of Strong Son. I'm in the process of writing that, and that is a process. Writing a feature, writing something like this is annoying as hell, and I hate it. And it's the worst thing in the world. Writing is hard. Some people are born with it. Some people are not. I am not born with it, and I love procrastinating so much so that I have 7 puppies and a mom in my basement that is distracting everything from doing that. Beyond that, I have a couple of shows in development outside of Winnipeg that I can't really talk about too much, but it's some cool stuff that might be coming very soon. And something else too. Yeah, there's a couple things I can't talk about fully. As for Asian filmmakers, and Vince kind of already called it out, person that isn't, well, I don't know, they're not playing in this festival, I don't think. Kwan and Aaron, I don't know Aaron very well. I just know kind of Aaron through Kwan, but Kwan is one of my closest friends. I'm going to hype him up for a second here. I met him a few years ago. I didn't even know he was he's a younger guy. I didn't know we have such a big age gap, and I didn't know that. And we immediately clicked. He reminds me of me, at his age, and I'm like, whoa. And also he just is really good at what he does, and he just loves film so much. And becoming friends with him has made me a better filmmaker, because he hypes me up in the sense and has given me life advice. And funny enough, we flew to Vietnam together, and I found out his age there, and I'm like, how did I not know this knowing you this long? But he's just a great shooter, great friend, and good guy all around. He's gonna do well. He gets the game. Yeah. I really like the guy. So he's a guy to watch out for. For big ones, the person I was quickly a celebrity that I always forget her name. Ishana Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is making movies and music videos right now, and she actually is like writing and directing Servant, the Apple TV show, with her father. But she wrote and directed majority of season 2, and she's doing season 3 right now. She's one of my favorite Asian film people, and she's like 22. Like, she's doing a lot, so it's pretty cool. I've been stalking her out quite a bit lately, being like, I'm gonna be friends with you. I want to meet your dad. So yeah, it's something for everyone.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for being here today and for this awesome chat. I learned a lot. I hope all of our viewers did too. And we're going to stay tuned for all of your future projects, your announcements. Jim, I can't wait to hear what this secret thing is coming out maybe next week.
Tell us the secret, Jim.
I'll tell you after.
I will blast it on Twitter. Everyone look out for it. No.
Well, have a
And
great
NDAs
rest of the festival, rest of your weekend, and stay safe out there. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having us.
Guys. Well, thanks, Jessica, for hosting. Yeah.
Thanks. So a huge thank you to our panel of filmmakers today, Ian Bawa, Jim Agapito, Joanne Roberts, and Vincent Tang. And congratulations on your success, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. If you go to the festival, watch platforms linked in the description below. You can catch most of these filmmakers' short films in the Manitoba Shorts and Competition program, starting at 3 p.m., which is right away, but don't worry, it's on demand through our festival watch platform called Eventive, so you won't miss a second. And thank you to the National Screen Institute for helping to sponsor this panel discussion. We hope you got some good information out of it. And a final thanks to all of you for watching. Bye for now.